what I have threatened before, which is to just swap keyboards on meeting days.
Oh, do you have a quiet keyboard out there that you could use to triage?
Dude, I have so many keyboards. All
So
in
many
search of
keyboards.
finding the perfect ergonomic setup. But yeah, I have an old, actually not old, it's current, Lenovo keyboard with the track point, and it's just, chiclet style. So it's pretty quiet.
All right. 1 minute to 9:30, our stated start time, but actually we will jump over on typical 9:35. Fun meeting, lots of stuff to talk about today. Hopefully everybody can hear us out there. All that's going on.
I can hear you.
Oh. Well, I hope so. Oh, you can hear me through the stream
And I can hear me too.
Yay! 2 echoes. Hey, we have a Ron here. Nice and early. All warmed up, ready to go. Yeah. Feels kind of nice to just be in it's a little bit of a routine. This whole every week we're doing another release kind of thing, or every month. I mean, hey, we have username back, who still said that name was better than the other name they had. I think if that's remember the introduction. Well, welcome again, username. That does feel weird to say though. Welcome, username. Feels like someone left in the placeholder text in a video game.
It's form letters.
Yeah, exactly.
The problem is remembering that, sometimes people created their original usernames when they were teenagers, and certain numbers were funnier than, serious.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I'm thinking of, but I'm sure.
I admit I didn't expect anyone to ever have to say it out loud. Username? Yeah, it's all right. It wasn't the number. Well, he went straight for the letters. Or I take that back. It could have been emojis. Might be new enough. All right, let's see. I guess I've muted that. That's fine for now. Can make it longer. Okay. There we go. All right. Let's see. We made another couple of minutes. See if Jacob makes it in the door just before we slam it shut behind him, which isn't true at all because you could join the meeting and leave the meeting at any time. Won't hurt my feelings. You can always watch it later or read the wonderful highlights that Bob puts out on the Fireside blog and just be like, yeah, there. I got it without having to spend the last minute, but you will miss all the excitement in between and the
Well, I try to recapture some excitement when it occurs.
Yeah, that's true, but it's simply not possible to capture the witty banter that goes on between the three of us.
Well, unless it's you and Sean ganging up on me, I try to recreate that for sure.
You try to recreate that? It's seared into your brain.
Yeah.
Never know how this one starts then.
Yeah, this could be interesting. But this is the problem when you give one of us the ability to write it up. History is written by the winners. Or in this case, history is written by the writers. So
Yeah. Actually, that's a good point. Like, they do say history goes to the winners, but it really goes to the writers.
Yeah.
So it really, if the losers are all dead, then they don't have any writers to write it. But if the winners win, but get the wrong writers, it could still turn out badly for them.
That is true. That's why you get the right writer.
That's why you get the right writer. And we have Bob here. Oh, wait. Sorry. I want to make sure I'm at low latency. That's good. All right. All right. That's cool. I think that's cool. All right. It says stream health is all good. Chat. All right. Like usual, we're going to wait another couple more minutes. Hit 9:35. We always get started. Try to be the stream going 9:30, just before 9:30. So everybody's like, yeah, okay, the meeting's here. And then we wait 5 minutes for Jacob to slide on in. Welcome. For those of you that are here and haven't said hi, I will do roll call or ask for roll call in a little bit. All of you that said hi already, you can say hi again, or it's just great having you here. You don't have to say hi again because it all shows up in the chat somewhere on the stream. Oh, not on this screen. Shows up on the next screen. Yeah. No, we're good. And hey, we have a Michael. Is Michael new? Oh man, I'm starting to run and like cross it between this and Dojo. Anyway, Michael, welcome. If you're new, we get started in a couple minutes and then we get going. Chris is like counting down to every single RC. Like he's so excited. He's like crew training, so I won't get to play RC until Monday. Yeah, that's all right. Monday's fine. RC2 has some very important bug fixes in it. So I am hoping that it comes out and people are like, oh yeah, this just works better. That's my hope. Or it could be that the fix that I made is just fundamentally worse and I'm going to find that out. But it seems to be holding together really well. I'm really happy with it in the end. It took a while to get to such a simple solution, but it's a really nice solution. Integration with MS Build, always fun. All right, one more minute. We're still kind of waiting for a Jacob. Jacob gets special dispensation, I guess we'll say, because he's been here for so long. Like he's been here for almost the 10 years that we've been doing these meetings, right, Bob? I think.
Oh,
not
well,
10 years. It hasn't been 10 years.
Not quite.
Not quite.
Well, see, I used to have all this knowledge at my fingertips because I went looking through and trying to summarize, like how long was our longest meeting? Stuff, just random.
You're like the sports statistician, but for WiX Online Meetings. I love it.
It's I again need to write this stuff up, and sometimes interesting tidbits are interesting. Mildly tautological there, but that's okay.
Hey,
I think we have like another 6 months or so.
For 10 years?
Yeah.
But it's close. It's close.
And they're all up there. That's
yeah.
I went digging through the YouTube archives.
Seriously, we're closer to 10 years than any other reasonable number you talk about. Like who talks about 9? Anyway. Hey, we have a Bert. This is great. We have some new people. This is fantastic. Welcome. You guys are in great timing for us to talk about all the cool stuff coming in 2023 about WiX. So it's actually 2 minutes after. We should get this going. All right, let's do that. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is the WiX Online Meeting 250. I'm Rob Menching here, joined with my fellow WiX maintainers, Bob Arnson and Sean Hall. This meeting is recorded for those of you that aren't with us right here, right now, and we have a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's go get into the agenda. If you're here, we have some new faces. It's great. Go ahead and say hi. If you've already said hello, then welcome. What are we doing today? We are doing the WiX 4 release plan review because, well, we are releasing WiX 4. This is what we've been doing for the last, 4 months, 6 months, whatever it is. That's what we're doing. We're going to release WiX 4, so we're going to talk about that. Because that's going well, spoiler alert, I want to talk about changes that we're going to do to the WiX processes in 2023, how things will work a little different and as in WiX going forward. Then we'll do our usual issue review and triage where we'll talk about all the new bugs and we'll talk about the bugs that are still open, which essentially is a continuation of the review. And then we'll do questions and comments. And there's a reason I put the process changes in between the review and the review. So let's go ahead and talk about WiX 4 release plan review. There's nothing surprising, hopefully, on here, except maybe the third bullet. But tomorrow, as all of you know, is RC2 release day. We do have a couple important fixes in there. I know a lot of people are excited for those. MS Build project references probably being the biggest thing that's in there. That's in there tomorrow. Get RC2, tell all of your people that you know that use WiX to get up on WiX 4, trying it out, and RC2 will be a great time for everybody to get on board. I put the line in the sand of RC3 on February 24th. The date that I've been kind of bouncing around was 17th or 24th because February 10th would be too early to do RC3 on a typical monthly cadence. And then it turns out that I'm out of town the 17th, and neither Bob nor Sean said they want to do all the release process. So the 24th, it is February 24th. And so that'll be RC3. What's going to be in RC3? Hopefully nothing more than a couple bug fixes. because we're just doing RCs until we kind of get to the point where we're like, yeah, you know what? I think we've seen enough of the bugs. We're done. And we'll move on to WiX 5. So that's what we're doing. Tomorrow, RC2, you all knew that. RC3 will be February 24th. And then as we get closer to that, we will talk about if there's an RC4, what that means, and so on and so forth. At any point, we could say, you know what? That last RC, that's the one. We're done with doing that. Something like that. Okay. WiX 4 is doing great. The RCs have been doing great. We've been able to get through. Each month has been a nice roundup of bugs, and we've been able to clean a lot of them, almost all of them out each time, and kind of get ourselves to a nice clean slate into the next release. So I'm really happy with WiX 4, which is given a little time to breathe and look forward. I don't know if you guys saw my WiX 4 summit on .NET Foundation this last week. That was kind of a wrap up of getting more people excited about WiX 4. I've done a lot of streams this week. I've been online, at least this one don't have the camera on, but I've had enough time to think about what are we going to be doing going forward? How do things look as we march into, honestly, WiX 5? That's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to WiX 5. So what are the process changes we're going to do? At a high level, the mailing lists are going to go away. We're just going to shut them down. I'll talk about each of these in more detail. We are going to pick up a new release cadence, and we are going to try, and I think we will succeed at simplifying triage. We've talked about these things amongst ourselves to try to get things that we want in there, and I'll go into more detail on each of those. First, the mailing list shutting down. Mailing list traffic has declined precipitously, and GitHub discussions traffic has been picking up, even though it's been marked as an experiment, which is kind of the way I figured things would go at some point if GitHub discussions was to be successful. So we're going to clear the experimental. Actually, I've already cleared off the experimental bit on GitHub discussions, and that's where we're going to start putting more of our traffic. That means in 2023, the WiX communication channels are for announcements, general, hey, here's all these things that are going on. You'll get the WiX news, which is the WiX blog on wixtoolset.org. You can continue to go to FireGiant blog, where all of these meetings are summarized, updates about heat waiver put, and also summaries of WiX releases in general that we categorize and or curate. I don't know. Basically put more words behind things to have a nice story. You'll get those on FireGiant blog. And then, of course, announcements we'll put on GitHub discussions. These meeting announcements, for example, will be on GitHub discussions. I've been duplicating them to the mailing list. Obviously, that will stop. Q&A will be on GitHub discussions. That's already been there. You've been able to do that. Stack Overflow will continue to be a place. And for those people that are customers of FireGiant, they can go to FireGiant support and get their questions answered. So that's kind of where we're going to centralize in the spaces, honestly, the places that are popular for people. The final shutdown of the mailing list will be later this year, probably sometime this summer. And we are looking into archive options. What are the best way? Things like that. We don't want to lose all the data, just have it disappear, but we're going to stop having people send mail. And I will send a mail to the mailing list probably after this meeting or Monday or something after RC2 is out to basically tell people, hey, we're going to be shutting these down. So go think about asking your questions on GitHub discussions. We'll update the doc site to say, hey, GitHub discussions. So essentially point people at GitHub discussions. So this is a change coming basically as soon as there's a chance to finish all of the points, but don't send mail to mailing lists. Start sending your things to just GitHub discussions like most of you already have. All right. I don't think that's terribly exciting or interesting. Most people are like, yeah, okay, fine, whatever. Things that are more interesting. We want to move to a yearly release. The world has kind of settled on yearly releases, although the Windows guys probably are going too fast. But we think that yearly releases will do well for WiX as well. So our goal is a yearly WiX release. So next major release, that'd be like WiX 5, WiX 6, WiX 7. Non-goals are pretty much any other release. It is not a goal to do dot releases of any sort or kind in general. Patch releases where we do like 4.0.1 can be done at maintainer's discretion. So if Sean or Bob or I come up and say, we really need to fix this, we can do a dot release. But yeah, that's about it. We're not going to be doing releases. We're going to be focused on the next major release, hopefully in the next year. So I have this rough schedule kind of thrown up here, which is kind of logical based off of the end game of WiX 4. We will get a feel for how well we can stick to this. The time, like, hey, about 9 months is for the thing that we would call preview 1. And that would be where feature complete is done. So it's like, hey, we finished this. We think all the work is done. All the features are in. And then A month after that, we'll do RC1, RC2, and then hopefully RTM. The number of RCs is a thing we're going to learn. How long the preview is, the preview one is, basically how long feature complete is something that will adjust based off of how many features we put into a release. But you're going to see a lot fewer release features go into a release. Easy for me to say. Bob, Sean, and I will talk about it and be like, yeah, here's the things that we think we can get done in the next year. So that's what we'll put it in. And that should fit in something that doesn't go longer than 7 to 9 months with this many RCs after it, things like that. So our first one, WiX 5, we're going to try to hit something that looks something like this schedule. We'll get more details when we drill into what exactly is in WiX 5. And then we'll get better from there. You know, the first one, maybe we won't quite hit 12 months. We'll get a little earlier or a little bit longer, almost always certainly longer. But, you know, we'll learn and get better. But this is going to be our new goal. Nobody wants to redo what we did in WiX 4, and even WiX 3 was don't like the way WiX 3 was being worked, and the overlap between WiX 2 to WiX 3 for anybody that was along that time. Haven't liked any of those releases. So we're going to try to go to this where we're essentially focused on one major release each year. And if there are any patch releases, it's because one of us thought it was important enough to do it. But that's about it. So that might be a big thing. That's probably something that people Christopher's actually already put it in the things like, hey, it'd be nice to look at maybe a faster release cadence. Yes, we're looking at yearly. All right. With that knowing that we're going to be moving that direction, this is and that's not for 4, clearly. 4 is in the release process now, and we are doing as many RCs as we need to because WiX 4 was a very long release. We had more things changed. And is there any chance extensions could release on their own if needed? No, we're not doing dot releases of extensions. We're not planning to do dot releases. We're not looking at anything that distracts us from core WiX. Now, I have thrown out the idea a few times, and it's never really stuck, of kicking extensions out of the core toolset and just letting them run by themselves. We'd have to get very stable on the interfaces for that to work out well. I tried that in the beginning of WiX 4. It had a lot of cross repo challenges and generally was not enjoyed by most people. But it's something we can review. But no, we're not planning to go and do additional extension releases on their own until we get to the day where like, hey, this extension, be free. Someone is maintaining it and going to run it on a schedule maybe faster than WiX. We can do that. We could talk about that. But at this point in time, nobody's doing any of that kind of work. So no, we're all lined up to the major releases are going. All right. So what does that mean for, actually, I'll pause here a second. Does anybody else wants to ask other things about your releases? It really is getting behind a yearly release, major release numbers, not a lot of restrictions on the other things. Yeah, we'll have to look at that. We'll see, Christopher. Like, it just takes time to go back and do those releases, and we'll have to decide. Maybe we'll decide, yeah, you know, it's worth us to go back and do a dot release and do that. But yeah. All right, so hold. I haven't seen anything else. Yeah, and Painter, I mean, Chris, that's a good point that, you know, maybe we will have, you know, if our giant customers are coming along and saying, hey, we need this continually maintained, we will be doing those maintained patch releases for them, right? Because they're paying for our time to go make that a priority. That could happen. Okay. Year releases, that's a thing that we're going to go. This is a goal. We're going to learn a lot in this next release. We think this is a better way going forward. Maybe. I'm not making any guarantees for anything in the community username. Any patch release could be super stable. Yeah, should be. You can look at the changes that are in it. We're not making guarantees about the stability here in the core tool set, right? So you want guarantees, you can go other places for guarantees. All right. Triage process review. We're introducing up for grabs. We've had lots of talk about all these different systems that we could, and we kind of halfway start with the concept of meh. If Jacob is around, that's pretty old, to the suspend, to the respawn concept. And after kind of going around, I've come to a much simpler system that's based on pretty much what everybody else is doing. So why don't we do the same thing? And that's on up for grabs. So we're going to continue to do triage like we do here. But when we get done with an issue, if none of us here or in chat pops up and says, hey, I want to work on that issue, then we're going to be like, yeah, nobody wants to work on an issue. We're going to mark it up for grabs, and it will sit out there for someone to pick up if they want to pick it up. That means that these milestones that we've been carrying along forever that are just dumping grounds of hundreds of issues like WiX v3.x and WiX v4.x that say, well, we could fix it in here, but we're not going to. We're just going to label all of them up for grabs, and we're going to delete those milestones. So essentially there's going to be, I don't know, I think 700, 800 up for grabs issues, just kind of things that have been out there for a long time that if someone wants to grab it, they can. So if you want to grab one of those things that get marked up for grabs, how do you do that? You just leave a comment and say, hey, I'd like to fix this issue. We'll re-triage it, figure out the correct release for it to jump into, and assign it to that person that said they want to work on it. Of course, a maintainer, like we're those same kind of things. So maybe as a maintainer, we go back, I have some free time. I want to go back to up for grabs and grab this issue that I've wanted for a long time, bring it forward. We'll talk about what release to get it in and go that. Otherwise, if you have an issue that's really important for you, there is now the option. I've not talked about this enough, I don't think, but there is the option. You can fund WiX development through FireGiant support. That's what Christopher Painter was hinting at, saying he wish he had money to throw at this problem. If there are things you want guarantees, like username wants guarantees about this or that, you can fund that development here and keep things rolling. That's definitely one of the ways of doing it. So this is a simplification of our process where if we get to the end and none of us steps up, including chat, and says, hey, I want that issue, we're going to label it up for grabs and it's going to hang out there. I have a whole flow chart that I'm trying to put together that I don't have worked out completely yet. Sean has poked enough holes or bugs in or pointed out enough bugs in my flowchart that I need to kind of get a little bit, but it essentially walks through at a high level this same process of, as we triage things, we'll go through them and where they go and what happens when something's marked for up grabs and who it's assigned to and all that kind of stuff. Just the minute details of it. And I hope to publish that in our dev section and our dev documentation in the not too distant future. I have to make sure I get all the bits and pieces right. So we're going to try using up for grabs today in triage for any issue that nobody here is going to fix. And we're going to go for that today. That's what we're going to do. So pause there for a second. I think this is pretty self-explanatory because this is basically the way most other projects, many other projects work. And there's actually a website you can go to search for, hey, show me all the issues for up for grabs across all these projects. So it's definitely a thing out there. It's pretty simple. Hopefully it actually makes it clearer to what issues are being fixed and which ones are not. It's just to just streamline a whole lot of work instead of us going, well, we could do this. Nope. It's up for grabs. And if you want it, go ask for it and we will assign it to you. Unless we think it should be gone, but then at that point it shouldn't be up for grabs. We should have got rid of it before that. So
yeah, it also simplifies things because we've had issues in the past where while we're doing triage, we need to decide, is this 3x, 4o, or 4x?
Yeah.
Or vnext. We've had all of those in play, and some of it is just, oh well, that's a breaking change, so it would have to be in a .0. Which .0? Well, wine.
Yep.
It's like, this is interesting. I might want to do it, but I don't want to commit. So, it goes into vnext. It's like, far future bucket, future Bob will worry about that. This way, it's like, yeah, it's up for grabs. It can happen in the next release, whatever
that next release is.
Or
as per our previous slide. Yep.
Yeah, these fit together well.
That's why I did them in this order, because I think when we were discussing, I presumed this order, but this is better. All right, so there we go. That's the big process changes for 2023. Mailing lists are no more. No big surprise. Our goal in WiX 5, which will be the first major release, is yearly releases. That is what we're going to try working towards. And we are introducing up for grabs in our triage process to simplify the process and hopefully make, honestly, triage go smoother. It's like, if we're not taking it, it goes there. So let's go practice. Let's go do exactly that. And let's review our stuff and do triage. We'll do triage first, and then we'll do review. I really should switch the order on these words, but it's the same difference. Bob, you ready?
Okay. Yeah. It's new and scary, but that's okay.
It's not new and scary. Fortunately, I already created the up for grabs label for you. So
I noticed. I checked.
Apply it. You checked. All right. Starting at the top, V3 to V4 conversion of a merge module isn't as pretty as package. Ron took a look at this and found that it's going to take a bunch of work, more work than he chose to do, which is fine. And then Chris closed it saying, it's not that important. And then Sean left some comments saying, well, it would be kind of like clean up like this or these things and so on and so forth. That's kind of the summary as I remember of this issue. I bring it up because it was in RC2. It's not going to make RC2. So should this issue be opened? Is it really closed because nobody's going to work on it? Sean, what were you suggesting here? Were you just pointing directions or did you have an idea?
Well, it was closed in a milestone, but it's not fixed. So
yeah, I know.
Either someone needs to take it or we need to take it out of the milestone.
Right. Okay, so we can reopen this then, and then just kick it out up for grabs and move on.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. And it looks like Chris said the exact same thing. So that's great. So I'm going to sit here and watch GitHub change a little bit while Bob makes those changes and see how this turns out.
Well, that's pretty presumptuous.
Well, you started, so I was like, I actually want to see it happen. This is kind of cool.
I know. It's done. Now, there it is.
And we got to kick it out of the milestone. Is the milestone not refresh as fast?
Yeah, that must be it. It's not like I forgot to set the milestone.
There we go. All right. So one minor thing as part of the flowchart. Oh, yes. And that's a good point too, Chris. We should pull Ron as the assignee because as is in the flowchart that I'm refining, the goal is that up for grabs ends up with none of these things assigned. It's not assigned to anybody. It's not in a milestone. It's just kind of hanging out there until someone wants to pick it up. And then we will assign all those things when someone says they want to fix it. So great. That is that issue. All right. WiX 4 compression does not create files as small as V3. Is merch happen to be here? Nobody had that name in the chat, and GitHub names and YouTube names don't always line up. Sometimes they do. I'm going to say we should punt this issue at this point because they've not come back with more information. If they do, we'll take a look at it. But at this point, there's nothing in here that says that something is seriously wrong with V4. It just says that sometimes it's not as, some things are bigger, but he's giving percentages instead of real numbers. So it's 10% of what? 3 megs or 3 gigs?
Yeah, and this is one where, anything embedded like custom action binaries
Yep.
Is going to be different.
Yep.
Generally about the same size. I noticed, we're using the latest Visual C++, so they might be a little tiny bit smaller, but nothing significant.
So, all right. I think we can close this as not a bug and move on. All right. Minor upgrade removes all files and uninstalls services. Sean and Bob are all about this one, so I'm going to take a step back and let you guys discuss even what's going on here.
So I created a pull request to fix the issue. I wrote up a big thing about what happened where V4 changed the default provider key that it creates. So if you don't author your own provider key in the MSI package, then WiX will create one for you to track the dependents. And it changed in V4 so that the base package and the minor update package don't share the same provider key anymore. So what was happening was the bundle was a major upgrade of the previous bundle, but the MSI package was only a minor upgrade. So because the dependents were different, what happened was the newer bundle installed the minor update and then it uninstalled the older bundle, and the older bundle uninstalled the base package. So it ended up with pretty much nothing on the machine. So that was the scenario. And then the fix was to change burn to not uninstall superseded packages, MSI packages.
And my comment on the pull request was, yeah, that seems like the right thing to do in a general case because that works for both minor and major upgrades.
So I was just making sure we all agree that this is the right thing to do before I committed it.
another option is to change the provider key back, the dependency key, provider key back to the old way the v3 did it.
True.
I think that created problems.
Right. I don't remember the details, but I think we changed that on purpose. So this feels
I changed that as part of detecting the minor update independently of the base package. So in v3, it detects the minor update as already present because of just how the detection logic worked. And that messed up some rollback stuff and so just generally not a good idea.
Yep. So this is knock on from that, which this makes sense given we want to keep that other one, that we would probably want this to be the way to go here. But you and Bob have been deeper in that. My space has not been in here, so I'm trusting you guys on this one. So do we want this in RC2? Pull request is ready to go, just put it in?
And if we're going to take it, we should take it in RC2.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a very good point. So yeah. All right. Cool. I guess give it to Sean, all that kind of good stuff, and we will move on, and Sean will go push the button. Possibly that will disappear before the end of triage, or not. Definitely before the end of the day. We'll say that. All right. WiX cannot work with debug type embedded. So this is the fact that WiX 4 is using the debug type property to set the type of the PDB that's get built in the same way that C# does. And C# supports the concept of embedded PDBs now. Modern C# compiler does. And if you set the debug type like global for all of your builds across the whole space, when WiX gets it, WiX is like, embedded is not a type that I understand for PDB, and so it then fails to build. And the question is, should we do better, or should you have to override in your WiX project the debug type when you set a global embedded?
Well, you don't even have to. You don't have to override it, per WiX proj. I mean, you can still use the directory.props support to set it appropriately across all of your WiX projects.
Yeah, you could do like extension of the project and all those kinds of things.
Exactly.
Yeah, so there are ways around this. Ron's having a conversation. I don't know if it's about this one or not. It's something else, I think. So that's definitely one way around it. I went and looked at VCX projects, and they don't look like they use debug type, which I guess isn't surprising given that they're ancient and have never been updated. I think you set the PDB type through, like, you have to set it on the metadata of the link item underneath the. I never can remember. I always have to go look and remember where that piece is. It's deeply nested inside.
There's no global. There's no global property.
I don't think there's don't think it's a global property. It's a thing. We tend to in WiX make it a global property. Not this one, but we do make global properties that then be set deep in the metadata of the VCX project type stuff.
Well, that's where it's needed, but generally there's the convenience property that gets passed down into the metadata.
I don't think they do, and it's not debug type. So one option is for us to change the name in WiX and not reuse debug type, and instead use something else like WiX PDB type. I don't name to be decided, because our PDB is not a debug type. That would, the reason that came to my mind in the end, after trying to get this guy to participate and actually think about the problem and work through it, I was really trying to get him to engage, but it was a loss because I was in a weird mood when I was trying to get that to happen anyway. So if we're not compatible with C# debug type, then maybe we shouldn't use debug type.
Well, one option is, in fact, to support embedded WiX PDBs.
Oh, yes, that's another option. You're right.
We could just throw it in as a stream in the MSI.
Yes, we could. I thought about that, but then I was like, really? Like,
Really, you thought about that?
I did.
'Cause
I
that's just
considered it.
I considered it way too wacky, but funny to mention. But no, okay, you went there.
Well, I went far enough to go, well, yeah, we could embed it as a binary. And then as in a bundle, we could embed it somewhere inside the bundle. And we
Yeah,
have the
yeah,
whole
absolutely.
we have the whole UX container that we could
That's
put it
right.
in.
That's right.
I did very similar. I was like, yeah, but is that really useful? I guess it could be useful for patching, so you don't have to worry about losing your PDB. But
That's true.
that's not enough of a scenario that I think it's worth it. And I don't know how big our PDBs are right now. I know they're smaller than 4 or 3.
They're much smaller than 3, which is actually why it's not a completely insane idea. Mostly insane, but not completely insane. Because it's about as sane as doing, embedded PDBs in your C#. Granted, C# has more use cases for that, embedded PDB, but so the reason I went this route is that we've already overloaded rather the meaning of debug type, right? At one point in WiX 4, we actually had 3 types of PDBs. Now we're down to, it's basically yes or no. So I'm unsure that we want to, overload. Yeah, even if we were just doing so to keep open the perhaps wacky idea of an embedded WiX PDB.
So are you suggesting that we should rename ours to something not PDB, not debug type?
Well, I'm suggesting that we should probably support debug type. I'm wary of renaming properties at this point. So I think I'm wary of renaming properties at this point for its impact on customers and users. The idea that embedded, I don't think this is a serious problem. I would actually be fine if we kept debug type and let embedded imply normal.
So have embedded mean full?
Yes.
Another option is to warn on embedded.
Sure. Absolutely.
We could default and warn or full.
Yeah.
Embedded is not supported by WiX, falling back to full. And if you want to get rid of the warning, then you can do extra work.
Minimal extra work, to be clear.
Right. Minimal extra work. That's
I'd be fine with that. I'd be fine with that. Mostly at this point, I don't want to mess with the current behavior. And given that there's an easy workaround, then I'm fine with massaging the value where embedded means full. Yes.
Okay. I'm that's fine too. All right, go ahead and give it to me. I will go do that where embedded falls back to full with a warning saying, hey, we don't actually support embedded, so we're going to full. Because we think full is more likely what you meant than none when you said embedded. That will be straightforward. All right, a harvest directory generated WXS does not produce BA factory equals yes attribute on the BA's major payload. Produce exe fails to start BA 7165. I really should start with the number. Christopher Painter, I don't know that I've ever used WiX PDBs. Do you use validation? If you use validation and have ever had an error, you use the WiX PDB. Because it tells you the line numbers from validation. That's the biggest use for PDBs and day-to-day, everything else. Harvesting of payloads and stuff like that. Sean, you took a look at a couple of the other ones, or you actually fixed them, I think, pretty rapidly. Oh, you're already commenting here.
I mean, this is just a really simple XSLT thing. So, I mean, I guess you could add a command line argument to tell it which DLL to mark with that attribute, but I wasn't really interested in doing it.
Perfect.
I don't understand the sorry, I've never understood the harvesting for payloads. Is this, I mean, do people
For
need
like-
to do this for their BAs?
For a self-contained BA, you have no idea what the runtime's it's gonna put a ton of files in the output directory, and you need all of them.
Sure, but sorry, I guess this is, I wouldn't consider this to be something that you would need to do at build time every time. This, okay, I admit this is my, attitude toward heat for the past 15 years or so, which is, yeah, it's something you run and fix up by hand, which is your perfect opportunity to add an attribute like this.
Like the self-contained BA is the use case where the .NET runtime will put a whole bunch of files in the output directory that you have no control over, and that might change as you like upgrade a package or something.
Yeah, I suppose.
All right, but it's like, yeah, fine. We'll mark it up for grabs, and someone wants to fix it. That's great. It's like the definition of up for grabs.
Yep.
Cool.
Great. Awesome. I knew we were going to have one of them up here that was up for grabs. We've had two, one or two.
Yep.
Two. Yeah, we brought one back from the dead and put it up for grabs. That's what we did. All right, now for my favorite issue of the day, the one where the person ignores everything. Oh, they didn't ignore everything. No, did they reformat? Whatever. It gave us an image of an error that is very interesting to me to fix, but they didn't provide us enough information to know how to get there. So we need more information on this because something in their WXS file is blowing up. So yeah, that we need.
Are they going to get anything out of a... No, nothing's going to be useful from
No, just build this from MS Build, and the log file will have more information than this. And I thought our exception messages were including the stack trace with them now.
Yeah, but
I thought they did it all in one line.
Off.
Oh, is it cut it off anyway? Yeah, fine.
Well,
so
I don't know if it cuts. I know it cuts it off after a new line.
We need more information. They need to run MS Build on their solution or whatever and give us the full error message that gets spit out that is more than one line long. Or send us their WXS files that reproduce it, and that will work. Open a repo, put the WXS files there. That's the easiest thing. For all of you out there, if you really want to make it easy, which is the best way to get your bug definitely on the list, is to open a repo that has everything we need in it so we can just run it and be like, oh, yeah, that crashed. Yes. We'll fix it. Next.
This is a perfect example of opening a good bug. This bug was open an hour ago.
Yeah.
If we get very quick feedback, maybe we can still look at it today. But if we had all the data from when the bug was opened, we could definitely
we could have fixed this today. Now I'm hoping this is actually a dupe of the other one that looked a lot like this. Chris, yes, the issue template is going to be changing radically now with the up for grabs. So that is on my list of exactly after RC2. I have a whole slew of things to just clean up this stuff. And yes, it will be part of the issue template. Now that issue templates are nice and powerful. So people still won't do it because nobody wants to create another repo for any of this stuff. At least that's what I've found. But maybe they'll attach the files, which is second best. Anyway, yeah, I'm hoping this is actually the same argument out of range exception that got fixed earlier this week.
Which also would be useful to know from precise version numbers rather than Visual Studio 2022.
And WiX 4 preview.
Yeah. Preview
all
1,
kinds of not useful information in this
preview.
person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So trying to get the issue template to narrow this down is going to be a challenge. All right. Cool. So that will stay triage with more information, and that will get, I don't know why that's not gone already, but that's fine. These two, so we will have one issue left for us for triage in RC3. I'm sure more will pop up. All right. Issues for WiX, existing WiX 4 that we've already taken. Let's refresh this since I know one has come in. I have created the RC3 project, which is not the way we're going to be doing things in the future, but that's kind of how we're tagging things right now. These are both in the RC3 project to update our build process to go grab the latest cubes and to validate that this thing that we're doing when generating BAs is correct. I'm going to say we should probably do these in RC3 and be done.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, who knows? RC3 might be the last one. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to fix this today. So that will be gone today. The error message when creating cabinets greater than 2 gigabytes is not as good as it used to be in 3. So I want to go figure out why it's not as good as 3. There's a lot of changes in the way cabs get built. So somewhere that error messaging got lost. I want to go put that in. I am not going to get that in RC2. It's going to take more time. That'll be in RC3. But it's just get a repro of this, get the error message to be good, and then go for it. The user was very good and confirmed that the issue is when the cabs are too big, it hits this. So that's good. We do have checks around other places to prevent this, but it's still possible for the data to be just the right size to get just over, and our calculations don't catch it. So anyway, better error message is needed for that one, and that's will be done in RC3. And then we have display internal UI is not allowed, which is a doc generation type thing that Bob said he's going to take, which doesn't really have to be in 4.0, but it's fine for us to track it here because it's part of the big documentation changes that we've done in 4.0. Cool. So I'm going to try to get one more bug in today for RC2. The rest of these are definitely scheduled RC3. Well, this could go anytime. Doc bugs can go at any time. And maybe this argument out of range will come out, and Sean is going to, or maybe he already has, got this minor upgrade removes all services. So there we go with what's in the last couple fixes in RC2 today. RC2 build comes out tomorrow. Sounds good? Yep. All right. Ship it. Yeah. Well, almost. I want to do something for this. Get that off my list. All right. So that brings us to your turn. If you guys have any questions, comments, things that people want to talk about, questions I have, we've covered lots more content than we typically do in these sessions. Usually it's all about issue triages, especially lately, but lots of other things have happened. I've seen people talking about things in chat. I think they're mostly talking to each other. I've tried to address the things that I think were to me. And anything else that's going on. I always have to fill space to give people time to type. It's great having all you new people here. We'd love to have you back next week, or in 2 weeks. Actually, we have to talk about that. The next meeting, whenever that may be, we need to talk about that. We will. So it's great to have you here. Obviously, RC2 is coming out, and let's just talk about the next meeting. I think that's the 9th. Second. And Sean said he was going to be out surfing the snow that week, correct?
I mean, theoretically, we could do on the 31st on Tuesday, but yeah, I'm going to be out after that.
So given that the next RC3 is planned to come out the 24th, should we just skip a couple weeks and go for the 9th and the 23rd of February then?
I would just be skipping 1 week.
Sorry, bump a week. Yes, bump a week and go for a 3-week delay between here and there. That would be one option. I don't know that we're going to need to meet next week that fast, so I don't know that we need to do 26th, 9th, and 24th.
I like having this meeting the day before an RC. So, I like that approach. So I recommend, yes, skipping the second, meeting on the 9th, and then meeting on the 23rd, and then shipping on the 24th.
Okay, so meetings next week, the 9th and 23rd. So the next meeting would be 3 weeks from now. Christopher asks, will we ever use NuGet pre-releases or only the GitHub feed? We use NuGet pre-releases now, and we use the GitHub feed for dev releases. So we use the 2 feeds appropriately because NuGet does not want your nightly builds on NuGet. They've been pretty clear about they are not the repository of all builds of all the world. They get kind of,
why would they complain about terabytes of data?
Exactly, and we are not a small NuGet. So, ours is, a big build system that's being carried there. So anyway, I'm just glad they do it all for free. Yeah. I mean, once we have a release one, once we have a release one, will we do pre-release? Our process is going to be the same as it is right now, I think. When we're just doing devs and there's no like announcement release where we want to get more attention, we'll just do the dev builds. They'll continue to go to GitHub like they do now. You can get those builds, whatever. It's all good. And then we'll try to get more attention about a release to get people to kind of go, hey, look, there's excitement around it. And those will then get pushed up to NuGet. And sometimes they will be pre-releases like Preview 1 or RC1, RC2, whatever. Or it'll be the RTM release where we're like, hey, we're done with this one. We're on to the next one. And then that'll be out there too. Looking for goodies more. If you want more frequently, you want the dev builds, you can get them after every single PR is submitted. You can get a release from that today. So that's the way to get them is from a dev build. All right. So Sean, does that sound good? I didn't hear you voice if that was good. 9th and 23rd of February.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, cool. So we will be back in 3 weeks. I'm still filling space. If anybody has other questions, we'll take them. There's always that delay between words I say and the time to hit going back out there. So let's see. So that says February 9th. So 3 weeks from now should work out just fine. We can always scramble together a meeting if something is going crazy in RC2, but honestly, we'll discuss it on discussions. Oh, by the way, I did just create a category in discussions called WiX Dev Talk or something like that, where that will essentially be the replacement for WiX Devs. We can go there and it's an open forum. It's not a question answer kind of thing. So it could just be, hey, let's discuss these things. And hopefully people won't be posting their questions and answers there. If they do, I'll just recategorize their questions and stuff like that. But that will be the place. So if, I didn't mention that earlier, I forgot to. WiX Devs, of course, mailing list, and we'll be going away. So we can go discuss dev things if we have to go back and forth on them. But, if they're big things, we'll have whips and we'll do discussions on those and so on and so forth. So we'll talk more about that as we start looking at more future development and things like that. So that's that. All right, cool. That's all we got. We will be back in 3 weeks. Normally it would be 2. We will be back in 3 weeks. That would be February 9th, same place, same time. This 9:30 Pacific time start. And we will review how things are going for RC3. And of course, we will be picking up bug fixes, or we will not be waiting to triage issues. We are being hyperactive. At least I'm trying to be hyperactive. We've all been picking up issues as they've been coming in, going, oh, we should fix that. Oh, we should fix that. Oh, we should fix that. So things will get fixed in RS3 as they pop up. We will not wait for the 9th to do triage, but we will check in at the 9th and say, hey, how is RC3 doing? And my hope is that we're like, it's been pretty quiet. Might be too much to hope, but hey, one can dream. February 9th, we'll be back. For Bob, Sean, we'll see all you guys later. Bye.
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 Woohoo! There we go. Watch me change the number up next. WiX Online Meeting 251 as I type it in right there. Yeah. Oh, we had a Steve. Hey, Steve, welcome. Goodbye, if you're not gone already. Bye, Ron. Thanks for all the input. We'll see you there. Someone said cake. I don't even know why he said cake. I just saw that.
I'm not sure whether it was responding to Ron or responding to
something
that we were going to release soon.
Oh, release cake. Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, soon. When is RTM? When are we done with 4? I don't know. I would like to ship it, but we still need to fix a few of these things. But it feels closer.
Oh, yeah.
And getting that project references, that thing was just itching at the back of my brain because I was always worried about it. So hard. And I was really happy with the new simple solution we have. So anyway, yeah, that's the world. We'll be back in 3 weeks, which is a little bit weird, but that's okay. Sean, have fun on your skiing. Is it skiing or snowboarding?
Skiing.
Skiing.
Yeah.
So my surfing the mountain didn't make any sense. That's more.
It sounded cool.
Well, that's what yeah.
Well, there's water skiing.
No. You mean like in the mountain lakes? Surfing the mountain lakes? I guess you could say surfing. No, so anyway. All right. 3 for that. Bye-bye.